everybody? Welcome into another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we are going to be giving you guys our NFL Seekers consensus running back rankings for fantasy football. It's a combined ranking based on all three of our host rankings. And this episode, we're going to be covering our running backs 20 to 11 on our list. And you guys ready to talk some running backs? I know Josh is.
Yeah, I've been playing fantasy football since I was just a young little kid, and it's always been the running back meta. And I've been playing since I was like 7, and so running back has been the most important position. It always will be. I know that you millennials think that the new way is wide receiver, but I'm tried and true. I still believe in the running back meta, and I'll never give up on it.
No, this is the year of the wide receivers. There's a ton of late round running back value here. Truthfully, I feel like that's going to be the winning strat is going heavy on wide receiver early and going heavy on running back late. Josh, you're tripping. I hope you stick to your word when it comes up when our draft is here in about 2 weeks, because that means wide receivers will fall to me. So thank you, and you're wrong.
Yeah, what's funny about all that is I'm gonna take like 4 of the best running backs, and you guys are gonna be like, "Oh, who do I draft? Oh man, I have to draft Josh Kelly, Austin Eckler's backup, because I have all the running backs."
Well, I didn't think of 4 running backs. I meant all the running backs. Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
I think it's possible you're both right. Like, I think running back is a really deep position this year in specific. So, like, I think that I'm taking receivers early, and I trust a lot of these mid to late round running backs we're actually going to talk about in this episode. So I am really excited to talk about a lot of these running backs because there's some that are going really late that have more league winning upside than usual years. I feel like usual years there's no depth at the running back position, but when we were doing these rankings, putting them together, I actually was kind of surprised by how deep the running back position is this year, and it kind of makes me want to take receiver even more, especially because us three play in a 2-flex PPR league. So I think receiver will just be really important for that format at least.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out at the end of the year, but it does feel like it is the year of the receiver, which scares me. But I'm in my boomer ways, and the ways of the boomer are you take running backs and you take them early, and you take a lot of them.
Yeah. Do you guys want to just get into these running backs? We have a few honorable mentions I want to talk about too.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about these honorable mentions.
Yeah, there's so many running backs. We'll get into our honorable mentions. These 3 running backs, it kind of feels disrespectful that they aren't in our top 20. But Rachaad White is our running back 21. He missed out on our top 20 by literally like 1 point in our math that added all our rankings up. And Dobbins came in at running back 22, and James Conner came in at running back 23. I think it's safe to say that all 3 of us are definitely not scared of drafting any of these 3. And especially Rachaad White. I feel like us 3 are really high on Rachaad White, and we have been since we started this podcast. I feel like he's in a perfect situation, and it's obvious he's going to be scoring a lot of points.
Barring injury, all 3 of these running backs are going to outperform where they're being drafted. I think by a long shot too. Us having James Conner at running back 23 feels wrong and disrespectful. This dude, I mean, I think I have him at running back 20. That feels low too. It's just there truly is so many later running backs with such good value. This is a great example. These 3 guys right here. If I had these 3 guys on my team, that means I would have had to wait until I could take 4 straight guys until the 5th round. I could take a J.K. Dobbins and then go a James Conner who's going in the 6th round, and then go Rachaad White, who's going in the 7th round. These guys are literally each 1 round apart. Guys like this is exactly what I mean when I say I like waiting on running backs, because these guys have a lot of upside. Granted, barring injury, which all 3 of these dudes have had some pretty serious injuries. Barring injury, these guys are going to massively outperform their ADP.
Yeah, I don't know why James Conner is so slept on. It feels like every year he's so disrespected by like everyone. It's not just, I do have James Conner at 20 as well, Shane. And then I actually do have Rachaad White inside my top, in my personal rankings, inside my top 20 as well. But James Conner, especially, this seems like this dude just puts up numbers. I mean, and he's like the focal point of Arizona's offense. I mean, they're pretty horrible outside of James Conner and Hollywood Brown. But I mean, James Conner probably is going to score every single touchdown for the Cardinals. So it just feels flat out disrespectful to not have him in our top 20. It's crazy. It's crazy to say that. But yeah, James Conner puts up numbers every year. And if you're getting him, was it the 5th, 6th round? Is he going?
James Conner is the first pick in the 6th round.
That's incredible value.
Going as the running back 25. So
yeah, that's incredible value. The only person I don't really love is J.K. Dobbins. I don't know. It's just because he's never done anything in the NFL. And it always seems like there's some horrible injury or whatever, and he has Lamar Jackson, arguably the best running quarterback in the NFL, taking a lot of touches from him. But yeah, I mean, if you are getting these guys, I mean, at their ADPs, at their values, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I have been rising J.K. Dobbins up my board the more I think about it recently. He is being drafted as a running back 20, and that is a little bit scary coming off that injury. But he really did look really electric at the end of the season. And just the more I watch him this offseason, he looks pretty healthy and good. I don't really see any running backs that are going to take anything from him. Gus Edwards, Melvin Gordon behind him. I think that him and Lamar can just have a really, really good backfield. And I think the Ravens offense is going to be scoring a lot with Monken and some new pieces coming over. So I think that offense will really complement J.K. Dobbins, and he's going to be cleaning up some touchdowns in the goal line. So I'm definitely rising on J.K. Dobbins. And yeah, like you said, it's kind of crazy how good James Conner is, even in like the receiving game. He's good in PPR. So I think he's definitely just being slept on. So take him higher than the running back 25.
James Conner, he's had 2 full seasons now in Arizona, going into his 3rd season. His first season in 2021, he only played 15 games. Do you know what he finished? What running back rank he finished as?
Like I want to say top 10. He's in the top 10, right?
He finished as the running back 5.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why we have a short memory with James Conner. It's like everyone just has a short memory and just kind of forgets who he is.
And last year, he only played 13 games. He still finished as the running back 20. He's still a top 20 running back.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, get James Conner at his ADP right now because he's going to be. I mean, kind of like Dan said about Cooper Kupp, they might run him into the ground because I don't think they have a lot of talent outside of him.
They are going to run James Conner into the ground. That's another good point. They definitely are. Him and Hollywood are just going to be abused in that offense. Yeah, I went to that first preseason game. He was like the only player on the whole team that didn't play, and they played the rest of their starters. So I guess that kind of shows that they have some big plans for him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, should we get into our top 20 now?
Yeah, you guys ready for our top 20 rankings? I'm excited.
Let's do it.
All right, we'll get into our NFL Seekers consensus number 20. It is the Texans running back Dameon Pierce. He's going as the consensus running back 18. I have him at running back 19. Josh has him at 23, and Shane has him at 21. So we're all not too far apart on him. We have him right around 20, and he's definitely been rising up my board. He had a pretty impressive rookie season. He finishes the RB 27, and he missed 4 games. So that's definitely not bad. He didn't start the season as a starter either. He reminds me a lot of Javonte Williams, actually, who we'll talk about here in a second. They're similar players. They're bowling balls of running backs. He's really fun to watch. He had a lot of highlight plays last year. He was kind of a hyped up rookie coming into fantasy football drafts, and he definitely paid off for people that took him. And I'll pass it off to Shane because he had him last year.
Yeah, I traded away the bum DeAndre Swift for this dude, and when he was healthy, it was extremely worth it. Dameon Pierce last year started off the first couple of weeks slow as a rookie, kind of working into the system. But week 3 through 10 with a bye week in week 6, week 3 through 10, his worst finish was running back 20. 2 running back 20 finishes, a running back 6, 12, 19, 10. And then 11 and 12, weeks 11 and 12 were irrelevant. 13 and 14, running back 21, running back 16, and then he was hurt. And he was actually dealing with ankle stuff leading up until he actually was out. So fully healthy Dameon Pierce is, I think, I didn't mention, but I know it's kind of scary with what's his bucket, Devin Singletary there, but preseason kind of proved to us that Dameon Pierce is the running back 1. He's going to be the dude. Singletary is going to come in every here and there. So with this being not Singletary's, Dameon Pierce's backfield from day one, this is a huge value for where he's going. He's going beginning of the 5th round right now. I know it's a scary kind of gross offense, but they're looking up. They're trending up for sure. He's got his rookie year under his belt. Hopefully, if he can just stay healthy, he's seriously going to truly outperform his ADP.
To speak to your point about the preseason, he played 12 of 13 snaps with the starters last week in the preseason, and Devin Singletary was playing. He just came in after and played with the backups. So I think they're definitely showing us that they're going to use Pierce, and they plan for him to be the guy in their backfield.
Yeah, the only thing about Pierce that remotely scares me is just the receiving upside. There's just not a lot of value there. Through his 13 games, I think he averaged about 2.5 catches per game. So it wasn't very much. He was targeted 39 times and caught 30 through his 13 games. And so there's just not a lot of, upside for his receiving game. But it's going to be interesting to see if the offense changes with DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud this year, and maybe they will involve him, a little bit more, and maybe they'll be a little bit more pass heavy. But it's definitely interesting. But the talent and everything for Dameon Pierce, he will probably be one of the best true running backs in the NFL here in the next few seasons. Probably up there in the top 5 for sure. I think him and Kenneth Walker kind of run similarly. They force a lot of missed tackles. They're going to break off a lot of big runs, and that's where you're going to get your value with Dameon Pierce. But yeah, my ranking, I was a little bit lower on him, but I just couldn't. I really value running backs and their receiving upside, and so that's why I kind of downgraded Dameon Pierce. The skill set for being a running back, though, is just off the charts, and he probably will be, the 3-down running back there. I don't think Devin Singletary might, kind of steal some of the receiving value from Dameon Pierce, but he's going to be on the field most of the time, and he is an absolute, menace when he's running the ball. So I'm excited to see how his season pans out.
You do bring up a good point. He isn't the smoothest receiver. So I definitely do get why you would push like Rachaad White over him. I have just been rising on Pierce, honestly. The more I've been thinking about like Stroud and Ryan's impact for the Texans, I do think they'll be scoring more. And last year, there were some weeks that were like 5 points for Dameon Pierce. I don't really think that'll happen anymore. I think his floor is closer to 10. So I'm pretty excited for Pierce, and I think his floor is a lot higher with his team and culture getting better.
For sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is Rex Burkhead still there?
No, it's got to be like 35.
Last year, Rex Burkhead, he had 51 targets in that backfield. He had 51 targets. With him gone, I definitely think that bumps up Dameon Pierce's PPR value, because there's got to be some running back targets going somewhere. It's going to go to the starting running back. So I do see his receiving game value going up this year.
That's a good point too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Because Devin Singletary is probably quite a bit better receiver, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they use this backfield. If it's going to be like, more running back by committee approach with Kyle Shanahan there, his kind of influence over DeMeco Ryans. So who knows? But San Francisco last year, when they had Elijah Mitchell and Christian McCaffrey, they were both playing really well. Didn't they have them on the field at the same time a lot?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, it'll be interesting. It's going to be this whole Texans team in general is going to be very, very fun to watch this year. I'm super excited.
Yeah, at the end of the day, he's going as the RB18 on consensus. So I guess none of us have him at his ADP, but if you can get him around running back 20, we've been talking pretty positively about him. So I think that's a good pick.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
We'll get into our running back 19, and it's someone I'm really excited to talk about. It is Javonte Williams for the Denver Broncos, who is our consensus running back 19, and he is going as the running back 29 on consensus ADP. So we have him a lot higher than you'll pretty much see anywhere. I have him as my RB20. Shane has him at 23, and Josh surprisingly has him higher than me at 19. And I love Javonte. He's literally like my favorite player in the NFL. He's just an absolute beast of a running back. He has the most forced missed tackles since him and Bijan have the most forced missed tackles coming out of the draft in like the last decade. If that shows how talented he is as a running back. We didn't really get to see much of him last year. He only played 3 games.
3.5.
3.5 games before going down his 4th game. at the beginning of the game. The first game of the season, he had 12 targets, 11 catches, 65 yards against the Seahawks. So that kind of shows that he can do it all, because he's obviously great in between the tackles. He's impossible to tackle, but he's really underrated as a receiver. And I mean, his first game back was this week in the preseason against the Niners, and they threw to him the first 4 plays of the game, and then they handed it off to him. So they're confident in his injury healing. Obviously, they wouldn't just run him into the ground in the preseason if they weren't. And they did bring in Samaje Perine. He's a really good backup running back. But the more I think about it, I just don't really see him affecting Javonte too much, because he's just an absolute monster of a running back, and it looks like Sean Payton really loves him and wants to use him a lot.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the most positive times I speak on the Broncos, Dan. So soak it up, because I got a lot of positive things to say about Javonte Williams. And quite frankly, even at 19, I feel like we are drastically too low. I mean, Javonte Williams is only 23 years old, and I think this is going to be his best season yet. He had a really impressive rookie season. But I mean, he's going into a year where it's going to be by far his best offense. He's got, one of the best play callers in NFL history in Sean Payton. And you've seen what Sean Payton's been able to do with his running backs. I mean, we don't remember the Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, where they both finished inside the top 10 seasons. And I think the Broncos, and I know Joe Lombardi and I know Sean Payton's system, because I watched Joe Lombardi and the Chargers last year, and they do a lot of checkdowns and they look to the running back a lot. And so you better believe Russ is going to be dumping the ball to Javonte Williams multiple times a game. And so I just think that increases his value tremendously. And quite frankly, I think Javonte Williams could sneak in, maybe in the next coming weeks, maybe even into the top 15 conversation, because there's no question on talent. And I think we kind of saw in that last preseason game the usage that they're going to use him and the checkdowns. And so Javonte's ceiling is only up, and he's just, quite frankly, being drafted way too low. It's disrespectful right now.
I don't know if you guys remember, but he was being drafted in the 3rd round of drafts last year. Like he was being drafted as like a top 12 running back because of his upside, and that was when he was a backup or splitting the backfield with Melvin Gordon, I guess. And then now when you look at now, he's going as the 7th round, the end of the 7th round. I think that's just absurd value. I think that literally is. I've been saying it all offseason. I think we've all kind of just been higher on him all offseason. I think we can kind of pat ourselves on the back for that, because he really is the steal of the draft, and he's been rising up ADP, but he's still going in the 7th round, and that's just still a stupid steal. RB29 is silly.
I just thinking about it, I feel like we're a little high on him, just simply because it's a true thing coming off of an ACL. It's a real thing. Look at Saquon 2 years ago. When he came back from his ACL, he was irrelevant. The last year, 2 years removed from it, he was a monster. I think it's probably 1 year too early to expect massive production from Javonte. It's, Samaje Perine is still going to take something away from Javonte for sure. If he can stay healthy this year, though, next year he's going to be a monster. But this year, for where he's going, it's definitely still worth the draft pick. It's just scary because it's a real thing. First year running back, someone off their ACL tear, and he had a pretty bad one, if I remember correctly. It's any sort of, not even just tearing it again, but any sort of re-aggravation. He could be out a couple weeks. It's scary, but he is a monster. He's a great running back. The PPR, in a PPR league, the receiving work he's going to get is game changing. So if he can stay healthy, I would love to get him in the 7th round, but in our league, I know that's going to be hard.
Yeah. The injury is scary, and I'll say, like, a reason I'm really confident in this guy is, like, he's just a robot. Like, I've been confidently saying all offseason that he's going to be playing week 1. Everyone thought I was crazy months ago for even saying that. And then like a month or so ago, I was saying he's going to play in the preseason. People thought I was crazy, but he's still here playing in the preseason. He's practicing every day, cutting. He looks fine. I understand it's scary with Saquon's history. After his injury, he looked like a different player. But I don't know. Like, look at the guy. He's just a brick wall. Like, I just feel like he's such a hard worker that he's going to be fine. I feel like he's going to be really productive and look electric out there. And like Josh kind of said earlier, last year when he went down and they cut Melvin Gordon, Russ was dumping it off to Latavius Murray. So like he had no one to like throw the ball to. So I think Javonte will be a huge luxury in that offense for Russ to get the easy yards because he's so good after the catch. It's just as good as anyone in the NFL.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, that preseason game just freaking put me to rest on being worried about Javonte. I mean, when he went out there, immediately got like the first 5 touches, it was just insane. And so I just didn't worry about it too much. Modern technology is just so good these days, and these guys seem to just be recovering from things at an anomaly. It's like an anomaly. It's just crazy. Like JC Jackson of the Chargers had a torn patella tendon. It's like one of the worst injuries you can ever get. And he was practicing during training camp, and he should be ready week 1, which is like unheard of. So I don't know. I'm not too worried about the injury. But I mean, if there was a re-aggravation, I guess that could be definitely scary, and that could require him to miss time. But I don't know. I think the consensus, and it obviously is too low on Javonte right now. And the 7th is just an absolute steal.
Yeah, speaking on that preseason game, they threw a screen to him at the very beginning, the first play, that he was back in over a year after getting hurt, and he dropped the screen. And the next play, he ran like a comeback route, and it was on 3rd down, and it was just a brilliant diving catch, and it kind of showed that he's still looking somewhat healthy. And yeah, I agree that it's scary. The injury is very scary, but in the 7th round, the running backs he's going next to, the players he's going next to, I feel like you just have to take him there.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Too low at his ADP. Shane, you're overthinking it. He's a steal.
I understand both ways. Anything else you guys want to say?
No, let's talk about this next guy.
All right. We'll get into our NFL Seekers running back 18, and that is Alexander Mattison. He's being drafted as the running back 21, actually. I have him as my RB 18. Josh has him at 21, and Shane has him at 15 as the highest. And Alexander Madison's going to be fun. He's taking over that Minnesota backfield for Dalvin Cook, and I think they really won't miss him at all. I don't think they're really going to miss a beat. I think he's going to be awesome in that offense. I think he's like a Dalvin Cook clone, honestly, and he could be the next Dalvin Cook. He's a really good running back. There's a few young running backs behind him that definitely don't scare me. So I think that Alexander Madison's going to get more of a workload than people are expecting. I am interested to see why Josh has him at 21, though.
Yeah, it's kind of hit and miss for me right now on Dalvin Cook. I don't know how confident I am in him. I think what makes him a valuable running back is how Minnesota uses their running backs. They just give them so much touches and opportunity. But Dalvin Cook really hasn't been
Madison.
Oh,
I wanted to see how long he keeps
apparently
saying.
I'm talking Dalvin. I see the purple and I see the dreads, and my mind just immediately goes to Dalvin Cook.
They look the exact same.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook to the Jets now. I hate that situation. But sorry, Alexander Mattison. I probably wouldn't have noticed. I probably would have kept talking about it for another 10 minutes. But yeah, Alexander Mattison. I mean, I don't know. Nothing's impressed me too much with him over the last 2 years. I mean, he has had good fantasy production, but I feel and he is good. He's going to be good in fantasy because of the system. But however, I think we're kind of forgetting about the running backs behind him a little bit. And I don't know if it's going to be a running back by committee fully yet. And so it scares me a little bit. And I just don't think he's been super productive with his touches. I mean, he averaged 3.8 yards, 3.7 yards over the last 2 seasons. But I mean, the touches will definitely probably be there, but it does scare me because I don't know if there is going to be a running back by committee yet, and how much they're going to use, their RB2 and RB3, because they do have some talent behind Alexander Mattison. And I feel like
who?
They have Kenny Nwangu, Ty Chandler, and Dwayne McBride, who I liked as a prospect. I think Dwayne McBride is the best running back. But like none of them are like, scary that are going to take too much away, but they are high upside options that are young and good.
Yeah. No, and I was going to say Dwayne McBride, I feel like is better. I feel like he is a better running back than Alexander Mattison. I feel like somewhat over the season, Alexander Madison's role might diminish. I mean, right now he is probably going to be a top running back just because of how Minnesota uses their offense. But I almost just wonder if he will be overtaken at some point of the season. by a Dwayne McBride or a Ty Chandler. I mean, because I feel like both of those guys offer more unique skill sets. I feel like Ty Chandler's a lot better receiving back, and Dwayne McBride, I feel like, is a better running back.
There
And
has
Dwayne,
been rumors of Kareem Hunt as well, so I don't love that. But if they brought in Kareem Hunt, I definitely would move him down a little bit. But yeah, hopefully they don't bring anyone.
I wonder where Kareem Hunt and Lenny are going to go. What if Lenny went to the Vikings? That wouldn't be bad.
You think a seventh round pick, Dwayne McBride, is gonna affect Alexander Mattison?
That's like saying
Okay.
Isaiah Pacheco.
So Alexander Mattison. For starters, the Vikings wouldn't have kept him now going on 7 seasons, just to have him be beat out by a 7th round running back. Second, he's now had 6 full seasons of learning the exact same system, behind a great running back, and he's been preserving his body. It's not like he's been playing full games these whole seasons. He's still only 25 years old. He's played full six full seasons, and he's preserved his body and learned, and he knows the system. Lastly, 2021, week 3, Dalvin Cook didn't play. Alexander Mattison, running back 7. Week 5, Dalvin Cook didn't play. Alexander Mattison, running back 9. Week 13, Dalvin Cook didn't play. Alexander Mattison, running back 5. Week 16, is that championship weekend or semifinal week? Week 16, Dalvin Cook didn't play. Alexander Mattison, running back 13. When this dude has a backfield to himself, he's almost a lock for top 12 guy. This right here is the biggest value in drafts right now. He's going in at the end of the 5th round, the 5-6 turn. That is an absolute steal for a guy who I think I'm still too low on. He can very easily finish top 12. He's on a great offense. He knows the system. He's healthy. He's been healthy. They've kept him there for this long for a reason. He's finally has his time to shine. And this is seriously one of the biggest values I've ever seen in running back.
Damn. That was a get wrecked, nerd. No, I do understand. I do like all your points, Shane. I just don't know. I don't know. We haven't seen Alexander Mattison ever carry a full season. And I mean, but yes, he has been. I mean, I feel like every week Alexander Mattison started for Dalvin Cook, it was 2 touchdowns or, top 10 fantasy performance. But I am curious to see. I don't know. Is it going to be a running back by committee? Maybe not. I don't know what their plan is, but he does scare me just a little bit. But all your points do make 100%. If he's the true RB1, he takes all the carries. He probably will end up top 12. You're right.
I do hope those 7th round no names you're mentioning get 10 to 20% usage, just to give this dude a break, just so he can stay healthy all year. I really do hope that.
Yeah, that's what I think me and Josh are most interested to see, is because we're so used to Dalvin Cook, and if they're planning on using Mattison as the Dalvin Cook's always had a Mattison behind him. So who's Madison going to be? You know what I mean? So I don't know if he's going to be the complete only running back they're going to use, or if they're going to use a heavy rotation. But yeah, like, the names aren't very scary, but they are some exciting, good receiving options. And it's pretty impressive. Mattison scored 6 touchdowns last year. Obviously not starting the full season, so that's awesome. I feel like he'll be around 10 touchdowns at least this year. So that's really exciting. I think he can get around 900 yards too. So he'll definitely be a good option. And he's going as the RB21. So we're all drafting him at least.
Yeah, no, I mean, it'll be interesting, but yeah, Dalvin Cook, it should be a pretty safe pick, bearing there's no changes to how they run their offense.
Madison.
Why do I keep saying? Okay, my brain is too engraved to Dalvin Cook on the Vikings. I need to look at him in like a Jets uniform or something.
I personally, I won't be afraid to reach on this guy either. I'll say it.
Yeah. I guess we'll talk about him in a minute, but you're taking him definitely over like Miles Sanders then.
Not me. I feel a lot more comfortable with Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I think.
See, he goes right around Miles Sanders, and there's another running back like James Conner and stuff, and I feel like those guys are the safer picks to me, and I feel more comfortable because I've seen them handle.
Wait. How is Miles Sanders on a new offense on a bad team safer than Alexander Mattison in the situation he's in?
Because you see what he did last year with the Eagles, and now he's going to be
exactly. That's exactly my point. Last year with the Super Bowl contending Eagles.
Yeah, with Jalen Hurts scoring like 30 touchdowns a game and stealing everything. And you see how Carolina used Christian McCaffrey?
You
Now
did
just
not just
insert
compare
Madison.
Miles Sanders to Christian McCaffrey.
No, but you see how they use their running backs.
Yeah, but Miles Sanders isn't Christian McCaffrey.
No, that's why he's going in the 6th round.
I brought up Miles Sanders because I just feel like Miles Sanders and Alexander Mattison are really, really comparable. Like, yeah, I feel like I'm always choosing between them in every draft, and I have Miles Sanders one
I'll
spot.
go Miles Booby Sanders all day long.
I have Miles Sanders one spot behind Mattison.
Yeah, and I have him one spot ahead. It's really close. I feel like they're in very similar situations, but I get Shane's point that Madison's been with the same team for 6 years, so he's more familiar. So I understand that as well. I am really low on Chuba, so I think that's kind of why I have Miles Sanders one spot higher. But I'll be honest, Shane, I think you're kind of convincing me to make Alexander Mattison even higher, and I feel like I'm pretty high on him. So I'm pretty torn. I'm even more torn, man.
Good. That's good. That's my goal.
All right, we'll get into our running back 17. The NFL Seekers running back 17 is Breece Hall. He's going in the 3rd round right now as the running back 13. So this is definitely someone that we are a lot lower on than consensus. I have him as my RB 15. Josh has him at 17, and Shane has him at 19. So I guess I'm the highest on him. It's kind of interesting. In our hot takes episode, I said that I think Javonte Williams will finish higher than Breece Hall in fantasy, and we're getting to the point where they're not too far apart, and I think it's not too crazy of a take now that Dalvin Cook's over with the Jets. And I know Josh had Dalvin Cook on his mind with Alexander Mattison, and you're gonna have Dalvin Cook in your mind with Breece Hall, because I feel like Dalvin Cook is a big part of this Breece Hall conversation and why we're so low on him.
Yeah, it's nuts. I'll be honest, I've been one of the highest on Breece Hall throughout this whole process. And then that Dalvin news hit, and it just absolutely crushed me, because I wanted Breece Hall in fantasy, and I thought he was going to be insane. But you don't just sign a veteran running back like Dalvin Cook to a 1-year, $8 million contract and not give him majority of the touches, in my opinion. And so I feel like there's something maybe with Breece Hall's injury that's a little concerning to the Jets, or, they don't fully, I don't know why they wouldn't trust him, but it's crazy to me. It's crazy. And I don't understand it.
He's such a good running back. Like last year, he only played a few weeks, but when he was out there, he was electric. The Jets offense was just literally relying on Breece Hall. The Jets offense was Breece Hall. They depended on like a 50-yard touchdown to save them every single game. And once he went down, it was kind of a disaster in New York for a while, the rest of the season. So Breece Hall is going to be big for them, and obviously Aaron Rodgers coming over, it is big for Breece Hall. It'll help his touchdown spike up, honestly. But then again, Dalvin Cook might bring those touchdowns down a little bit, because I feel like he's a pretty trustworthy goal line back, and Dalvin Cook will break some long runs. So I don't love it. I have him as my RB 17, kind of making me want to put him down a little bit lower, seeing how low you guys have him. What are your thoughts on Breece, Shane?
This just doesn't feel right. He got hurt 4 weeks later than Javonte. He's now battling with, I mean, if you want to talk about a muddy backfield, you got Dalvin Cook back there with obviously Breece Hall. Israel Abanikanda he's been looking nice in preseason. His ADP right now doesn't make any sense to me. The value, I just don't think is there. He's not going to meet his ADP value. Who knows? Is he even going to be there week 1? I don't think he's supposed to be there week 1.
The day that they signed Dalvin Cook, he was at practice the next day. Surprise. So I don't know. I think he'll be out there week 1 because of Dalvin. I think we'll have a pretty good split. I honestly don't even know if he's going to be starting. And if you're drafting him at the beginning, or I guess at the end of the 3rd round though, as the RB 13, I don't know if you can do that, man. That is risky. He's got upside if Dalvin was like get hurt or something. Breece is a great running back. He's got upside, but he's being drafted as if he was the main running back in that backfield and not injured. So I don't know, man.
This Breece Hall is the riskiest pick in 2023 fantasy drafts. He's being drafted where he is because of what we saw from him, that short stint last year as a rookie. So I do see why he's being drafted there, but the situation he's in with the injury, the ADP has got to come down, and it's not. So I will not be touching Breece Hall in any drafts at this ADP.
Yeah, that's the thing. It just scares me the most, is just like, we don't know if he is the starter, and it doesn't make sense that he would be the starter, given the contract that Dalvin Cook got. I mean, you don't just bring in. I mean, I could see them bringing in like a veteran, or I'm not a veteran, but like maybe somebody, not as like a Latavius Murray or something like that. If they were, if they just wanted to give a little bit of workload and they didn't really trust Israel, But signing a Dalvin Cook to a $8 million contract, just it's a head scratcher. It's weird, and clearly there's something wrong with Breece Hall, because I don't think they would do that if he was right. Or maybe they just want to take this running back by committee approach and have one of the better backfields in the NFL, like a Nick Chubb to a Kareem Hunt, So I don't know, but I don't even feel like their skill sets complement each other like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt did. So it's weird. I don't like it. And like Shane just said, he is the riskiest pick right now in fantasy football at his ADP. So I'm not touching that.
They have, I mean, they have crazy depth. I mentioned obviously Abandon Canada, but Michael Carter, he's relevant, and Zonovan Knight last year had some relevant games.
Yeah.
They have, when it comes to NFL, real football terms, they have a great backfield. Fantasy football, this backfield sucks.
I forgot about Michael Carter, and he was like looking like he was their future running back before Breece Hall. It's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Ty Johnson is still there. Like, it's absurd.
Crazy.
All right, you guys want to get into our next guy? Anything else?
Yeah, let's move on.
Yeah. Get off of this guy. He scares me too much.
Beware when drafting Breece Hall. That's all we're gonna say. Beware.
Wait, actually, I want to do something real quick with Breece Hall. Breece Hall is being drafted. Let me pull this up. He's being drafted end of the third round right now. Let's look at guys that are being drafted end of the third round, and let's compare. I mean, are we crazy? Let's see. End of the third round, Jahmyr Gibbs or Breece Hall?
Yeah,
Yes.
Najee Harris or Breece Hall?
Not Harry.
I'll almost around later. I'll give you Aaron Jones or Breece Hall.
Aaron Jones.
Based on a ranking.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me do since
What about other positions? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to wide receivers. Going at beginning of the fourth round, Keenan Allen or Breece Hall?
Keenan Allen.
No. Chris Olave. Oh, Chris Olave. Sorry.
Olave and ESPN.
Yeah, Olave, ESPN, sure. DK Metcalf or Breece Hall? DK Metcalf.
Oh yeah.
Even look, I'll go to tight ends. Mark Andrews going in the third round. Oh, I'll take Mark Andrews. TJ Hawkinson's going in the fourth round. I'll take TJ Hawkinson in the third before I take this dude, Breece Hall.
Or just reach on a quarterback like Herbert.
Yeah, that quarterbacks. You got Joe Burrow going one pick after him. Give me my quarterback right there in Joe Burrow. Lamar Jackson also going one pick. Going one pick before him or right around him. Lamar Jackson. Look, Breece Hall does not deserve to be a third round pick right now.
Yeah, he's an electric running back. We've all seen it, but he does not belong where he's being drafted, sadly.
Yeah. And during the next few weeks, I don't think he will. I think we'll see Breece Hall, rightfully so, hopefully drop into the 5th, 6th rounds. That would be a more fair.
But drafts are happening right now, and only the next 2 more weeks, and then football's here. He only drops so many more spots with the amount of time left.
Again, and preach. This is why we tell people draft in, the furthest date that you can, because weird stuff like Dalvin Cook getting signed happens. So, there's a lot of weird things that happen during the preseason time. So try and push back your draft as far as you possibly can.
All right. With that, we'll get into our NFL Seekers RB16. It is Miles Sanders, the new Panthers running back. He's going as the consensus RB19. So we are all higher on him. I have him at 17. Josh and Shane both have him at 16. And man, he's a beast. He's coming over from a 1,269-yard rushing season with 11 rushing touchdowns for the Eagles last year. Obviously, he's going to regress. He's an obvious regression candidate. But the Panthers have a great offensive line that's specializes in the run game. They have Ike Ekwonu and bringing Chandler Savala on the left. So they have just a really mauling offensive line. So I think they're going to run their offense through the run game, obviously, like Frank Reich always does. And I think Miles Sanders will still be awesome. Him and Alexander Mattison, like we mentioned earlier, is a real coin flip to me. I have him 1 spot above Mattison, probably because I just envision him to be a little bit more of a focal point. It's so close, but I don't know. I like Miles Sanders. I think we all do. We're all drafting him, and he's exciting.
Yeah. Go ahead, Source.
Well, I really like Miles Sanders, and I understand his team is not nearly as good as the Eagles. He's going to a worse offensive line. But I mean, the Eagles are infamous for, running back by committee. They have Jalen Hurts, who's also a touchdown vulture and a run vulture, running the ball. And so I just think he goes into an offense that is going to be, I think he's going to get more touches. I think his touches will be the same. I think his receiving upside goes substantially up with the Panthers, especially having a rookie quarterback who, is not going to be able to, I mean, Bryce Young is kind of a freak. He probably will be able to go through his progressions really fast, but having a solid running back to check down to is a very good thing. Especially for rookies, when you don't want to make mistakes. And so I think his pass area, his receiving game is going to substantially go up. I think he's going to at least double his receptions from last year. I mean, last year with the Eagles, he was only targeted 26 times. That's pretty bad. So I think we can pretty comfortably say he'll probably target at least 40 to 50 times. And I think it's going to be a lot of checkdowns, and I think his touches are going to stay the same. And I think he's going to be one of the more focal points in that Carolina offense. And I'm really excited about Miles Sanders, and I want him on my team, especially at his ADP.
Something kind of underrated, actually, real quick, is Frank Reich was the play caller for that awesome Jonathan Taylor season that he was the RB1 in fantasy, and he was just an absolute beast. So Frank Reich is going to be using Miles Sanders in that same playbook. And I mentioned how good the offensive line is, but their receivers aren't great. They have Thielen and Mingo, and DJ Chark went down today. So I think Miles Sanders is going to be a real focal point.
It's hard. It's hard to kind of predict what a running back like Miles Sanders is going to do on a completely new offense. It's a completely different offense than what he's been on. Completely different situation. But granted, it's his backfield. It's only his backfield. He's got a rookie quarterback who's going to rely on him. It's all hope and projections. Granted, it seems like the majority of the fantasy community is in on Miles Sanders on the Panthers. If we can see his passing game work go up, hopefully Bryce Young can kind of rely on him with some checkdowns. But yeah, he's going to be the dude. It's hard, you can't necessarily look back at what he's done because he's in a completely different situation, like I said. But last year, 11 touchdowns, that's in the realm of possibility again with how much usage he's going to get on this team. So if you can get double-digit touchdowns, that receiving game goes up, he stays healthy, this is a great value for a fifth-round guy. He's another example of why I'm wanting to wait on running back.
11 rushing touchdowns would be hard, but I think combined passing and rushing, I think he will score around 10, 11 touchdowns. So yeah.
So Alexander Mattison or Miles Sanders?
It's so tough. I feel like you just go back and forth. I think
Alexander Mattison.
Damn. All right, fine. Let me have Miles Sanders. I love it. I want Miles Sanders. That's my dude.
I have Sanders one spot higher, so I don't know. It's so close.
He just quietly had just such an awesome season last year, and I just feel like it was just so overlooked. I feel like no one's really talking about his 1,200 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. Can you do you have it pulled up, Shane? What did he finish last year?
He finishes the RB 15.
13.
Okay.
Oh.
And then also, does anyone have Jalen Hurts rushing stats handy?
Yeah, I sure do.
How many rushing touchdowns and how many yards did Jalen Hurts have? Because I feel like
Jalen Hurts, really different. He had rushing. Oh, geez. Rushing touchdowns. He had. I'm confused. Oh, 13. Does that sound right?
Yeah, 13 rushing touchdowns.
Does that sound right?
Yes, I think it is right. He scored.
Yeah. He had 13. Wait, I did not realize that. What?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Jalen Hurts was a touchdown vulture in the run game last year.
He had
13 rushing touchdowns.
Oh,
he had a game with almost 200 rushing yards.
Yeah. And Miles Sanders put up these numbers.
Week 15, he had 3 rushing touchdowns. What?
I played against him that week. I remember.
Oh my, I didn't realize that. And he had 22 passing touchdowns.
What was his rushing yards? Do you have that pulled up?
760.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying right now, Shane.
That's crazy. No, I mean, I get it. It's I don't know.
But at the same time, the Eagles are going to be in the red zone a lot more than the Panthers, so that could.
Yeah, I'm best offensive line in the league, so that does play into it as well.
Panthers do have an awesome offensive line, though, like I said, so that'll be really helpful.
Yeah, crazy. All
right, we'll get into our RB15, and it is someone that we are consensus lower on again. It is Travis Etienne for the Jaguars. He's going as the consensus RB12. We have him at our RB15. I have him at 14, Josh at 15, and Shane has him at 18. And this is an interesting conversation because me and Josh have always been lower on Etienne. He hasn't really done anything to impress too much, but in our initial way too early rankings, Shane was very, very, very high on Etienne, and we were.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I didn't even realize this in our rankings. What the heck, Shane?
He's all of a sudden lower than both of us. So what exactly changed your mind? Was it Bigsby or what changed your mind?
So yes, but also looking. There's a few things. Yes, Tank Bigsby. He's a day 2 draft pick. That's a day 2 third round running back draft pick. That's something. That's something to look at. He's gonna take away from Etienne. Also, I like to mention his receiving work. Last year, if after thinking about it, why was James Robinson the dude the first 4 weeks? Like, obviously there's something about Travis Etienne they weren't too fond of. And then Travis Etienne went on a nice stretch when I guess they gave up on James Robinson, who went on a nice stretch of 6 weeks of 22, running back 22, 19, 9, 7, 3, and then 4 weeks of completely irrelevant, and then a couple more weeks of good finishes. So one, he's very inconsistent. He has a very good rookie running back behind him. And he also, I heard this quote, he said, is either his rookie year or in college, he said something about he's scared. Basically, he's scared to catch the ball. Is what he said. He's focused on he tries to focus on running first before catching the ball because he's scared of getting hit. Those came out of his that's not verbatim, but he did say a quote. I didn't even know you could do that, Stores. He did say that he's scared to catch the ball.
I think that was when Urban Meyer was their coach, like his rookie year. I think that's when it happened.
Yeah, and you can't blame the dude. He's a little dude, and he's being put in these vulnerable situations for these linebackers to light him up. If he's coming out saying he's scared, he's going to be kind of timid on the field. They're probably going to shy away from him in the passing game if he's literally telling them he's scared. Tank Bigsby's going to come in, take more work from him. So I'm just getting a lot of red flags from this dude after kind of looking into it more.
So here's the thing. Here's why me and Josh have been lower on him. We were really high on him in college because he was incredible at Clemson. He was a great receiver with Trevor Lawrence, obviously, and that he has Trevor Lawrence here. So when he came into the league, it was an obvious, exciting, perfect situation. And then he's supposed to be like this great, smooth, like literally he was drafted in the first round to be a slot receiver for Urban Meyer. So he's supposed to be like a legendary receiving running back. And last year he had 0 receiving touchdowns, to your point. So it's like, what exactly does he do? He did have a stretch where he was decent, like a decent starter. He had a few games over 20 points, but other than that, like he was super inconsistent. He had a game with 3 yards, 7 points, 3 points. Like it's just nasty to get to where he wants to be. I don't know. Like he's being drafted as the RB12. That feels too high unless he shows that receiving capability that he was supposed to have.
Yeah, I don't like Travis Etienne at all. I thought I was going to be the lowest on him, and I'm glad somebody else is lower because, yeah, Travis Etienne just doesn't wow me at all. I mean, he has I feel like it's kind of boomer bust weeks when he has when he breaks out a long run. I mean, he is capable of running the football pretty well, but I don't know. I mean, something about the fact that they invested a high draft capital in Tanks Bigsby. I honestly think Bigsby could actually take over Travis Etienne's role and be their number 1 running back because I think he is a better running back. I think he's a better receiver. I think he's a bigger running back. I think he'd be a better bell cow. But I mean, right now Travis Etienne is the RB1. But, Jackson, we kind of thought he would take over. And then all of a sudden, Jacksonville, through the first 4 weeks was like, no, James Robinson's the guy. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we invested a first round pick in Etienne. Let's see what he can do. Cut Robinson. He's our guy. And he had some okay weeks. But yeah, it's very inconsistent. He's majorly let me down in the passing game. Because, I mean, like me and Dan, like you said, this guy was legendary at Clemson, and he was a receiving back, and everyone, when there's a good receiving back, everyone kind of compares like, oh, he's an Alvin Kamara type running back. And he's been horrible. He's had really bad drops. He's had no receiving touchdowns. I just don't see the upside, and I don't understand the ADP.
You're muted.
Am I still muted? I think it's Dan.
Dan's muted.
I can't believe I was just muted. Okay. Hank Bigsby is literally the biggest riser in all of fantasy football ADP right now. So the Jaguars are seeing something. He's really impressing in camp. He's earning more time. So it's scary. It's bad vibes for Etienne.
Yeah. Preach.
He's expensive. Third round. It's the same argument as Breece Hall that we just had. I would probably take majority of those guys that we named against Breece Hall over Travis Etienne as well.
Yeah. This is coming from a guy that was very high on Etienne. So,
all right, we'll get into our next running back. The NFL Seekers RB14 is going to be Aaron Jones. He's going as the RB16, so we are all higher on him. I'm getting really good vibes from Jordan Love and then just the new look Packers in general. The offense looks like it is going to be decent, and I don't really think Jones will take any step down at all with Rodgers leaving. We've seen Love throw it to Aaron Jones a lot. It looks like they have a pretty good connection in the passing game, which is something that Aaron Jones has always been really underrated on. He's always been one of the better receiving backs in the NFL. He finishes the RB9 last year. I know he's losing Aaron Rodgers, but I really think Jordan Love is still going to feature Aaron Jones a lot. And I think they give him a new contract even with Aaron Rodgers leaving. So it shows that they're still confident in this offense and team and him being the main guy. I'm kind of out on AJ Dillon after last year. I'm just done with AJ Dillon. I think the Packers are kind of going to phase him out too. So I think we're all high on AJ or Aaron Jones for a good reason.
Aaron Jones, 2 words: steal and safe. He is so safe, and he's going to be a steal. He's going late, the middle, doing the 407, middle to back end of the 4th round. That is such good value for this dude. And when I say safe, going back to last year, he was running back 9, 2021, running back 12, running back 5, the running back 2, running back 23, and then his rookie year, he was irrelevant. And everyone it seems like Jordan Love's getting a lot of good hype out of training camp. He's looking good. Everyone is a big fan of him. I don't think he's going to sort of diminish Aaron Jones's value in any way. Granted, I'd rather him have Aaron Rodgers, but Jordan Love could rely on this dude, in the check down and the quick passing game work. So I like this dude. He's a great value for where he's going, and I would kill to have him in the 4th round.
Yeah, I love Aaron Jones too, and it has always frustrated me why AJ Dillon has just vulture touches, and I just feel like there's such a skill gap between the two, and the Packers just saw like AJ Dillon's size and like, oh, surely this guy is, the best goal line dude because he's got thighs the size of a tree. But it's always pissed me off. And I've had Aaron Jones a lot on my fantasy team. I didn't have him last year, but I have him the previous 2 years. And it was always a frustrating running back by committee. But I do agree that I think the Packers are moving in the right direction. And I feel like Aaron Jones is going to be the focal point. And they last year they did use him in the pass game really well. 72 targets and he caught 5 touchdowns. I really like that production, and he was underwhelming with his rushing touchdowns too. But that's surely he's going to progress in that stat. So I think you can definitely lock him in for probably 5 and up, and then maybe a handful of receiving touchdowns. So and he's being drafted at the right spot. Was it the 4-1 you said, Shane?
407.
Oh, 407. Yeah, that's tremendous value. And there'd be no reason to not draft Aaron Jones right there. That's tremendous value.
Yeah, I feel like he's just going low. Like I feel like we could all have him higher, and he's going as the RB16. So that's just awesome value. Incredible.
He last year, even finishing as running back 9, he had his worst rushing touchdown finish. He only had 2 rushing touchdowns.
Wow.
And only, I mean, he still had 5 receiving touchdowns, which was less than he had in 2021. His touchdowns were down significantly last year. Those go up just, a handful. This dude's in for a big year.
I would bet a lot of money that he's probably going to have at least 5 rushing touchdowns. I think he's going to have a pretty good season, man.
Definitely.
All right. Anything else you guys want to say on AJ?
Let's move on to 13.
Really excited to talk about number 13, a really polarizing option. It is the rookie running back for the Detroit Lions, 12th overall pick. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. We have him as our RB13. He's going as the RB14. Me and Josh both have him as our RB12, and Shane has him at 13. So we're all higher on him than consensus. And I feel like it's just drafting Jahmyr Gibbs is just great value and obvious pick because I feel like he's going to be like a first-round pick next year. So it's just kind of projecting value. I feel like he's going to break out this year with the Ben Johnson offense and be awesome in that DeAndre Swift role. I feel like it was kind of evident that DeAndre Swift was a little overrated, and now getting Jahmyr Gibbs, who was a real electric player and a prospect. He was a leading receiver at Alabama last year, which is crazy to say as a running back. I don't know if a running back's ever done that at Alabama. So he's an electric player. Say what you want about the Lions drafting him at 12 overall, but for fantasy, that's awesome because that means they kind of have to feed him a lot because they don't want to look stupid using that draft capital on him. So really excited for Jahmyr Gibbs, such a smooth, electric receiver, and he's a shifty runner too. I will say David Montgomery behind him is probably the best backup running back in the NFL, but I'm not too worried. I think both can have pretty good fantasy seasons, and Gibbs in a PPR league is just awesome.
Exactly what you said about Swift. This dude is going to be what Swift was supposed to be last year. That's going to be him this year, and you're getting him much cheaper than what I had to pay for DeAndre Swift last year. He had 44 receptions in 12 games last year at Alabama. That's disgusting. In a PPR league, if he can keep that up in the NFL, he's gonna be a disgusting player, and he's gonna shoot up. His ADP is going to shoot up for years to come. So right now, I mean, this is the cheapest you'll be able to get this dude. Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even care if David Montgomery is like a 12, 15 touch guy, because the way how creative Ben Johnson is and how electric this Lions offense is going to be. I mean, this dude's going to line up in the slot, and he could be a slot receiver in the NFL. He's truly has the receiving skill set to go out there and line up out wide in the slot and run really good routes. And that's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do with him. And Ben Johnson is a young, creative guru. And I always mention this guy anytime we talk about the Lions, because I mean, what he was able to do with that Lions offense last year was so electric and so cool. And Jahmyr Gibbs just fits the style of play that they want to do. And it's going to be electric. I mean, it's going to be fun. And when I say this kind of reminds me of like a rookie Alvin Kamara, this is the closest thing to it. Like, I promise you, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be fun.
I have no stats or anything to back this up, but I feel like Jared Goff is just like a really good quarterback for running backs in fantasy. Like, I feel like he throws to his running backs a lot. I feel like Ben Johnson draws up a lot of screens.
No.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. I think it was something stupid. Oh, so if Jahmyr Gibbs didn't have hair like that, would you still compare him to Alvin Kamara?
No. Okay.
He really is a Kamara, though, man. He is.
He's the way he plays and kind of the way he runs. Like, Kamara doesn't really even look like he's running fast, but he's like hauling, and it looks effortless in a sense. And that's kind of the feeling I get from Jahmyr Gibbs. And so, yeah, I'm excited for Jahmyr Gibbs. I want him on my fantasy team. I don't feel like I'll get him because I feel like there's a lot of people very high on him in our league. But he's going to be a fun electric player.
Shane said Jahmyr Gibbs is what DeAndre Swift was supposed to be. I'd also say that he's what Etienne was supposed to be, because he's just such a smooth receiver and he's so reliable with his hands. Like, he's proven as a receiver.
He looks good in those Lions uniform. He looks freaking swaggy. So,
and in that practice uniform.
Yeah, dude, he does. Not like old time football. That's a cool picture with the visor, like the trees in the background.
It's
pretty
gonna be
much.
fun having Jahmyr Gibbs on your team. It'll be a fun pick in the 4th round for sure.
Our editor did a great job with that pick.
Yeah, shout out to the NFL Seekers editor for sure.
Anyway.
We'll get into our NFL Seekers RB12, and it is Najee Harris who's going as the RB11. So we are one spot lower on in the consensus. I have him at 13, and Josh and Shane both have him at 11. I'll be honest, I think the reason I'm a little bit lower on him is because I drafted him in the 1st round last year, and I got my heart broken. I got burned by Najee. I had all the expectations in the world. I drafted him at 8 overall, thinking that he was going to be a PPR reception machine like he was that rookie year. But it was a disappointment on all ends. He was playing injured, and it was pretty clear at the beginning of the season, and you could tell when he was starting to get healthier, he was looking like a better player. But yeah, I think Najee is going to take a pretty big step up this year in that Steelers offense.
Yeah, I think Najee right now, the fact that he fell 2 whole rounds in ADP after his down season last year is he's a steal right now. Just like I was kind of mentioning with Aaron Jones, Najee's a steal. He last year, yes, he definitely disappointed for where he was drafted last year, but he was still a suitable RB1 for your team. He finished as the RB14 while he had a metal plate in his foot, in his shoe. Once he got that taken out, do you remember exactly what week that was taken out, either of you?
It was the week I traded for him. I traded a bag of potato chips for him, and it worked
Probably
out.
like week 5 or 6.
No, it was later. Wasn't it like 10?
It was like 10. It was 10. It was later. When I traded for
that's
him,
what
he
I
went
was
absolutely off.
Because after his bye week, which was week 9, week 10, he finished as running back 22, running back 3, and then 2 bad ones, 29, 25, and then finished out the season as running back 15, 14, 18, 7, 12.
He was above 10 points in all of those games.
Yes. Oh, yeah. 10, 27. Yeah. He was quietly still very relevant, but you didn't feel that because of where you drafted him. Now where you can draft him, this kind of production, I think, is a baseline from what you'll get from him. But I think it's definitely up from here. Jaylen Warren, I don't think Jaylen Warren's necessarily going to take a ton away from him. I think he's going to give him needed breaks. But his floor is what he finished last year, and you're getting him 2 rounds later this year.
Yeah. I mean, if 1,200 yards, 50 receptions, and 10 touchdowns is a down year, then that's a pretty safe floor for me. I'm not too mad about it. And I know it was a disappointment from, his rookie year where he played with Ben Roethlisberger, and Roethlisberger checked it down to him literally 100 times. And so his receiving, stats were definitely fudged by that. I mean, because Roethlisberger couldn't throw the ball more than 20 yards. And so there's a lot of check downs to Najee, and he had 74 receptions, and that definitely regressed. But again, I think it'll go up, and I think he's healthier. And if that's what his down year looks like, then I'm feeling pretty confident in that.
One more thing, I think Kenny Pickett, he was kind of thrown into the fire last year. So for the first 4.5 weeks, he dealt with a bad Mitch Trubisky, and then he had to play with a rookie quarterback who was just absolutely thrown into the fire at halftime against a great defense. Now with the entire, they got the rest of their season under their belt. They have a whole off season. Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris I think they're going to have a great connection, and I think his receptions are going to go up. So it's only up from here for Najee.
Yeah, I'm honestly starting to get Austin Eckler vibes from Jaylen Warren, if I'm being completely honest. So I hope he doesn't take that to the full extent. I hope he doesn't completely break out, but I do think he'll be a really good complement and take the load off Najee and help him stay healthy. And the Steelers are obviously going to take a step up this year, especially offensively, and they're going to be pretty solid. They're going to run the ball a lot, and they do throw a lot of checkdowns in Najee still, even without Big Ben. So like Shane kind of said, he's last year it felt bad because of how high he was drafted, but now where he's going, it's nice.
And they upgraded their offensive line a little bit too.
A lot of it, actually. A lot of it. It was probably one of the worst last year, and it
was bad last year. Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to say on Najee?
No, love him though. Love Najee. Thank you, Najee, for saving my fantasy season last year.
Let's move on.
Thank you for not saving mine because I drafted you in the 1st round. We'll move on to our NFL Seekers RB11, and this is the most polarizing running back in the NFL right now and fantasy football right now. No one knows what's going on with this guy. He's going as the RB7 currently. That could change here in the next few days. He's going as the 6th pick in the 2nd round. We have him as our RB11. Me and Shane both have him at our RB10, and Josh has him at 14. He's a little bit lower. And I guess the question is, if you're drafting this weekend, what the hell are you doing to Jonathan Taylor? Like,
I'm not touching him. Honestly, like truthfully, this might sound a little hyperbolic, but he would have to fall to like the 8th round for me to want to touch him.
Yeah, I agree. It's scary. You don't know what to do. I mean, it could be a Melvin Gordon 2.0 situation, where he sits out the year. Who knows? I mean, until he gets a contract. So, he's obviously not happy with the Colts. The Colts are kind of, brushing it off, and it kind of reminds me of an Austin Eckler situation. I mean, it might end up okay, but I don't know. This one does feel a little bit different. It feels a little bit more personal. Seems like when Austin Eckler did it it's this whole trend of running backs now. They want to get paid, and running backs do take a lot of carries, and they are a big focal point of the offense. But for some reason they are devalued in today's market, and it's confusing. And Jonathan Taylor, who's still on his rookie contract, we haven't seen a rookie contract, running back do it yet, which it is smart for him, before you get hurt, before you get too many, too many miles on the tire, get a bag. So, but for fantasy, it scares me, and I don't know. I don't know. And also too, I don't like Jonathan Taylor because I drafted him last year, kind of like a Dan and Najee situation. So there's still salt, flowing through the veins.
So I was actually looking at our last year draft board to see where Jonathan Taylor went. He was the 3rd pick to Mr. Josh Shores.
Somehow he fell to 3, and I was skipping my way home that night.
He last year has to be one of the biggest bust performances from a top 3 pick in fantasy history. He finished as running back 34.
Yeah, it's whatever the number 1 running back is, it's a curse. There's a curse surrounding the number 1 running back every year. And I don't know why, but they will never repeat an RB. Running backs will never repeat a season. And dates back to like David Johnson, and all these weird things happen with the number 1 running back.
Yeah, that won't happen if you take a wide receiver first.
That's true. Justin Jefferson is clearly the number 1 pick. Watch him get hurt. Knock on hardwood, he doesn't. But I don't know.
To talk about JT in a positive light real quick, like he is such a good running back. It's crazy that he's only 24. If he was going into the draft right now, he'd probably be a 1st-round pick, So he is a really, really good running back. She showed it with that RB1 season a few years ago in fantasy football. He can definitely produce. I guess the biggest question is like, is he going to be a Colt? Is he going to be a Bear who have a lot of money to spend on him? The Dolphins are linked with every running back ever, so he's had a lot of links with the Dolphins. And then there's like the Super Bowl contenders like the Eagles, Bills, and Chiefs. What fits kind of stand out to you guys for JT that are realistic to you?
I think the Bears would be interesting because I think he'd be the clear plug and play. Like, okay, no matter where he went, he'd be the dude. But with the question marks in that Bears backfield, yeah, Khalil Herbert's their dude, but Khalil Herbert's a 10th round pick to fantasy drafts right now. You get a dude like him on the Bears offense, who they're trending up. I think he could be very valuable. But the scary thing about him changing teams this close to the season is he could start out slow, and it could take time for him to kind of get used to a new system. So personally, I just hope he stays with the Colts. I mean, I guess I don't really care because I'm not going to have him, but I would want him to stay with the Colts, just because he's been there. He knows the system. He wouldn't have to adjust to anything new.
I don't know. It's hard to see me. I don't know. It's hard to see Jonathan Taylor leaving the Colts for me. So I'm going to put his best destination as staying with the Colts. But to throw out another name, the Philadelphia Eagles aren't scared to make big moves. I know they have DeAndre Swift. I know they got Rachaad Penny, but this would be a clear, significant, big upgrade from those two. So the Eagles would be interesting, and Howie Roseman is not scared to make a splash. and not scared to do weird things. And so, I mean, that would kind of be an interesting fit to me. And then another team that's, circled to every top running back ever and never gets one is the Miami Dolphins. They seem to, maybe it's their beat reporters or whoever who just really want a running back, but they are named with every top running back that's been a free agent, it seems like, for the last like 3 years, and they never get one, but they would be a good fit bearing they actually would trade for him.
I feel like the Dolphins might be other than the Colts, the Dolphins would probably be the best for his fantasy football output. I could see him being really good production wise for the Dolphins. But yeah, like Shane said, like it's going to take probably a month or so for him to be comfortable in that whatever offense he's in, if it's not the Colts. And I mean, we don't know what's going on with this injury situation. We don't know if it's like a bluff because like there's so much like weird animosity towards Jim Irsay and Jonathan Taylor. Like you don't know what is true that's coming out of their mouths, but there's a lot of weird stuff going on. And he had like a really serious injury apparently, and then he was about to go back to training camp. So I don't know what's going on, but it's just confusing, and that's why we're a lot lower on him than ADP.
Yep.
Can this relationship be mended? Can it be fixed now between Jonathan Taylor and Jim
with
Irsay?
money. It's just money.
Yeah, that's true. If he offers him the bag, Jonathan Taylor's going to be skipping his way back to training camp. So, yes, I guess anything can be solved with money.
But if you guys are drafting soon, just keep an eye on the situation. Jim Irsay said that he's giving JT till Tuesday to seek a trade, and if not, who knows what's going to happen next week. So if you're drafting this weekend, probably just definitely stay away from JT. He's a great running back though, and whatever team gets him, it'll be an eye opener for sure.
It's tough. Beginning of the second round ADP right now, that seems like a waste of a pick to spend on Jonathan Taylor right now.
Yeah, I mean, where realistically would you guys feel comfortable taking him?
I said eighth round.
Where's the risk outweigh the reward or whatever?
I said eighth round. That was a bit of an exaggeration. I mean, like, if he's there around like fourth round where Aaron Jones is going, or Travis Etienne late third round, yeah, that's worth it. But
right by Najee.
Yeah, he won't fall that far. But that's personally where I need to see him go.
What if he doesn't play like the first 4 weeks per se?
Oh, then you have to be
It's hard. It's like you're treating it as like a suspension kind of, and he is a really good player whenever he gets back from, whenever he's on the field and he's a starter, wherever he is, he's going to be the main focal point of their probably offense. So
like Alvin Kamara, though. Alvin Kamara has a 4-game suspension. He's drastically lower. I mean, and obviously it's kind of unknown with Alvin Kamara right now, but the talent for Alvin Kamara is crazy. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe I probably feel comfortable drafting around the Alvin Kamara spot for me personally.
Kamara's a 3-game suspension, by the way, but we seriously
Kamara's rising up boards too. I see him going the third rounds on Sleeper. It's crazy.
Wow, that's I mean, he really is. I mean, I guess actually Kentrell Miller's kind of turned heads. He usually looked really good against the Chargers, but I don't know. I'm scared of Jonathan Taylor. I won't be touching him. I just can't.
Thankfully, we won't have to worry about it because we have a dude in our league who's going to draft him way too high, so we won't have to worry about it.
Exactly. So problem solved. He'll go in the second round.
Yeah, we got a few Colts fans in our league, so we're not worried about that. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor's going to be awesome. And just keep an eye on the situation. Anything else you guys want to say about him?
Nope. Let's wrap it up.
All right. Yeah, so this was a really fun episode. It's fun talking about these deeper running backs that are going to be high variance, but they can definitely win you guys your leagues and pay off big time. So yeah, this was fun. Stay tuned to the NFL Seekers podcast. We had our receiver rankings last week. We have our tight ends rankings out already, and we got our top 10 next. So stay tuned to the NFL Seekers on all platforms.
Subscribe.
All right. Peace.
Peace.